reported by Dai, and he doesn't make any explanation of it. The graphene oxide shows very poor fluorescence property due to the presence of this hydroxyl, epoxide and carboxylic acid group, since they induce non-radiative recombination of electron and holes. And my aim was to increase the fluorescence of graphene oxide by either non-covalent or covalent approach. For non-covalent approach, I have used methyl cellulose, and I have used different percentage of methyl cellulose, which increases the fluorescence property of graphene oxide, and this is due to the supramolecular interaction between the oxygen function group of graphene oxide and methyl cellulose. And this is due to the supramolecular interaction, and it has been proved by the fluorescence microscopic images. And I have used this material to sense nitroaromatics, and the limit of detection was calculated to be 2 ppm. Next, I have used another water-soluble polymer, polyvinyl alcohol, to prepare highly fluorescent graphene oxide PVA hybrid. Same phenomena occurs here, and I have used this material to specifically sense toxic gold 3+, and we all know that gold is a noble metal, but gold 3+ salt is too much toxic to human, and I have specifically detected gold 3+ in presence of other metal, and the limit of detection was found to be 275 ppb. Next, I have prepared another more water dispersible graphene derivative, sulfonated graphene, by simply dialuminum coupling, and it shows highly fluorescence property compared to the graphene oxide due to the formation of larger number of localized sp2 domains, and it shows good overlap with vitamin B2, that is riboflavin, and I have thought that it can be used to detect vitamin B2, and fluorescence resonance energy transfer occurred from the sulfonated graphene to riboflavin, and I have detected riboflavin in presence of DNA, RNA and so on, and here the LOD was found to be 0.6 microgram per ml. But the previous works on at low gauge, that is gauge 4, that's why we cannot use this material in biological purpose. That's why I have functionalized graphene oxide with another water-soluble polymer, p-nylon by free radical graphene, and this is the characteristic product. Thank you all for your kind attention.
So base thesis award was actually chosen, as I mentioned, through a rigorous screening, and I think it was the entire process was spearheaded by our senior dean, Professor Soumitra Sengupta, and based on his recommendation along with the external experts, we have arrived at this. And now it's my pleasant duty to present the award. Now, Professor Prabhakar will give his address.
Good morning to all of you. It's a historical occasion for me because when 1986 I came back from US, the first public lecture in India was in this hall. There was, I think, 1987, I don't remember if it was science day or something. I was in science tutor at that time. It's also I'm honored that Professor Santhu invited me for Science Day, because Science Day is celebrated in honor of Sir C.V. Raman, whose work was done here, and so it's a special honor to me, and thank you very much for that. I will very quickly move on to first talk a little bit about activity of my organization. So TIFAC is known by its abbreviation. If I tell the full form, nobody will understand. It's called Technology Information Forecasting Assessment Council. It's a technology think tank. Our task is to look into future as to how technology changes in next 15, 20, 30 years of time. So it's a very different kind of organization, unique organization. We don't do direct research. Just now, we have released Technology Vision 2035 document that Prime Minister released at Indian Science Congress on January 3. This document is available online. I have only a couple of hard copies with me, but it's all available online for download. I will very quickly There is a media report, I will skip these. I'll very quickly describe this in few minutes. Some of you might remember that Technology Vision 2020 document was released by us in 1996 under Dr. Kalam's chairmanship. Right now, Dr. Anil Kakotkar is chairman, who is also chairman of Atomic Energy Commission and one of the key figures in India's nuclear progress. The document starts by talking of our Vision 2020 first. So we do a retrospection. We compare India's progress in terms of horses motion. So what we say that what we visualize at that particular time in 17 different sectors, where do we stand today? So we visualize India to be something, where do we stand today? We compare this to horses motion. So the left column is galloping India, where India has done better than expected. Second column is cantering India, where India has done along the line of expectation. Third column is trotting India, where India has done slightly worse. And walking India, where we need to do a lot of improvement. Just to give an example, there is a waterways here that you are not able to see. We visualize that towards 8 to 9% of passenger goods traffic would be using waterways. Actually, really nothing was done for the last 20 years. Only very recently, about a year back or so, current government announced plans to have use waterways and announced plans to have from Hooghly, Varanasi to Hooghly waterways utilization. So, we start with this. The focus of Technology Vision 2020 was on developing India as a country. This time our focus is on developing citizens of the country. So see, India versus Indians. Our focus is on Indians, the quality of life. So the document is very different. So vision document starts by talking of people of the country, what would be their needs. We have grouped them in 6 groups, which are non-exclusive. It's a non-exclusive segment, that means a person could lie into more than one. Some of young people here are very smart in mathematics, will add up the percentage, it comes out to more than 100%. You must remember that a person can fall into more than one group, that's why it's more than 100%. I'm not going to go into details of this, but we looked at security, prosperity, and identity of each of these groups, and then try to look into how technology can serve these needs. So we have a vision statement which says technology is the service of India, ensuring the security, enhancing the prosperity, and strengthening the identity of every Indian. This has been translated into 22 languages, which is also shared here. Then we said that if we close our eyes today, and open in 2035, what do we want to see? Especially for young people, what we have done is we have captured, we interacted with a lot of young people, thousands of people across the country at different locations, captured their imagination, their aspirations, their desires. And some of that we put in the form of these infographics, which talks about the quality of life that we want to see in 2035. All of this has been then classified into 12 groups. These are we are called the prerogatives. The 6 on the top that you see are individual prerogatives which affects every one of us. For example, starting from clean air to potable water, food and nutrition security and so on. For young people, I would like to mention that the most important part in our life is air. Without it, we cannot survive beyond a few minutes. The next one is water, which probably you can survive for a couple of days. And the least important part is the food. But unfortunately, we always look at it the reverse way. We ignore the air, we ignore the water, and we only focus on the food part. But actually, look for a person's life. It's the air that's most important, and we are least careful about the environment, we are least careful about the water, and we only hanker after the food. So we must get our priorities right. The 6 at the bottom are the ones which are collective prerogatives. That's not important for individual as a person, but society as a whole, a group of people. And we have talked about various things that I'm not going to details at this stage. What we have done is that we have also looked at each of these prerogatives and identified technology at different stages. So starting from leftmost column is technology which is ready to deploy. So in each of the prerogatives, we have technology which will allow us to achieve those prerogatives today and tomorrow. So the leftmost column is technology which is ready to deploy, that means technology is available either within country or outside, but not being used on large scale. The second column is technology which is the lab, but needs to go to field. This is the area of major concern where India fails because technology gets developed in the labs, like this place or many other labs that we have around the country, but does not go to the field. So it remains that this is a major area of concern, where a lot of technology that needs to go from lab to field. The third column is targeted research, where we know roughly the direction in which we need to go, but we need to put together our resources to make sure that we can achieve those targets in terms of research outputs. The fourth column is technology and imagination, those technologies that we thought that will happen in 15-20 years. I must mention here two things. What we found is that in 2-3 years that we were working this document, some of the technology we thought was in imagination started to happen already. That means technology is happening faster than we expect. The second thing that is happening is that technology is diffusing at much faster rate than we expect. For example, when the telephone was discovered, probably to go to 1 million customers might have taken 10-20 years. But today, a phone is released, and within a day or 2 days or 1 week, you have millions of people using it all. So technology is happening at faster than we expect, and technology is diffusing at faster rate. Then we have talked about few technologies which are transversal in the nature, that means they affect many sectors, including materials research, like the previous speaker talked about graphene, for example, wonder material, two-dimensional materials. These are the kind of things which affect all kinds of sectors. Very important for taking it from lab to the next stage to make sure that it can be used in real life. We talked about materials, we talked about manufacturing, and of course ICT that you are familiar with. But we wanted to also make sure that the infrastructure aspects of technology development is not ignored, and the most important part, the fundamental research, should not be ignored at all. So we have talked about all of this in one chapter. Then we talk about capabilities and constraints of the country. We talk about what is India's strength, what is India's weakness. We must work within that, because we cannot compare and copy from China, for example. Each country has its own weakness, each and strength. We must do that. For example, we are technology leaders in certain sectors. We must maintain technology leadership. We have talked about nuclear space and so on. But also we have talked about traditional knowledge. And some of this I'm going to talk a little later also. So we need to maintain that leadership and acquire additional leadership. Then we have talked about technology independence, for example, those areas where irrespective of which country has, which country does not have, we must have it. We must be independent in those because of various reasons, including strategic reasons. Then we have identified 10 grand challenges. The first one I'd like to point out, guaranteeing nutritional security and eliminating fever and child anemia. Fever and child anemia is such a major problem, but we have not been able to solve. Now we started discussing this on 10th February. We had a discussion in conjunction with the Indian Council of Medical Research, where Dr. Harshvardhan, even Minister of Science and Technology, came in, and he said that 20 years back we were discussing anemia, and today we continue to discuss anemia. That's the sad part of it, because even after 20 years of discussion, we have not been able to make an impact. And the statistics are difficult, but some people say that 60 to 80% women are anemic, 87% of pregnant women are anemic, and 1/3 of children are anemic. So we are focusing on such grand challenges. I am not going to this. Again, other details. Then we have a chapter which talks about who should be doing what. And then to achieve this vision, we are preparing 12 technology roadmaps that we will be releasing throughout this year at different places in the country. We hope to launch one in Calcutta as well. So this starts with education, medical science, and healthcare, food and agriculture, water, energy, environment, habitat, transportation, infrastructure, materials, manufacturing, and ICT. Some of these are nearly ready and some are being worked upon. I'll very quickly just run through few activities that IFAC does just to help some people who may take advantage of that. One is that we have programs to nurture innovation. One is that we file patents free of cost for all academic institutes, whether it's private or government funded. Free of cost, we file patents in India and abroad. All the rights remain with the inventor and the organization which files this. This activity we have been doing, we do it both in India and abroad, we maintain it as well. There's one more program that we train women with mid-career break in intellectual property right active. We give them fellowship. This is part of Women Scientist scheme of DST, which is called Kiran program. This program is called Kiran IPR. 8th batch is starting, and actually we have created 10% of patent professionals out of this program. There is a program to actually do technology transfer. So if you have developed a technology which needs to be transferred to somebody else because you don't know to carry it forward, we help you with that. And then we have a program to give soft loans to scale up commercially innovations that take place. I'll mention two interesting points that are especially important for young people. We were asked by government to look into few sectors where technology could play a role in boosting exports. One of the sector was ESDM. ESDM is stands for Electronic System Design and Management, basically electronic goods sector, our mobile phones, our TVs and so on. The second sector I'll talk about is guar gum. Let me first come to guar gum part. Guar gum is not guar beans. as known, is not popular in Bengal, but it's very popular in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Punjab, Haryana, and so on, and parts of Delhi. I was very surprised when we were told to look into this. This was something that I've lived in Gujarat for 18 years, that we used to eat as vegetable. It's just like a flat bean. What we found was that in 2012, suddenly export went down to 21,000 crores. It was being exported to the tune of 3,000 crores, jumped to 21,000 crores. And the reason it happened was because it's powder that is taken out by splitting the seeds and so on. That powder was being used in shale gas and oil exploration. And the US in 2012, the shale gas jumped, the production ramped up, suddenly this demand shot up. And India exports 80% of raw material, the powder, globally. So naturally there was a lot of demand on Indian requirement. The interesting finding that we have in our report says that we send out the raw material, the powder, but we don't do any value addition in terms of chemical processing, which increases the value about 5 to 10 times. So for example, China buys from us maybe at 100 rupees and sells at 1,000 rupees. So who is making money? China, not us, who is supplying the raw material as such. We did patent analysis of this, and this slide I would like to show that while India exports 80% of global guar gum, if you look at patents, there are nearly 12,000 patents in this. India's patent is less than 1%. That means if I link patents to R&D effort, where we are strong in terms of raw material, we don't do value addition, we send out the raw material, and we try to work on something that is of interest to other countries. We must work on the strength of our own countries. And actually I have a list of 792 farm efforts produced and hundreds of minerals where we do exactly the same thing. We send out the material and then we don't do value addition. So our R&D must be focused on our strength and not in trying to follow somebody else somewhere else who has their interest. So this is a point that I wanted to make. And in fact, just look at guar gum itself, there is potential for 50,000 crore rupees per year if you can do value addition and add up all the materials. You can imagine how much amount of wealth we are losing. The second sector that I wanted to mention is extremely important is electronic goods sector, where we are expecting that by 2020 we'll be importing $400 billion of electronic goods, and it will become the #1 import item exceeding oil bill. Now, I'll not go into detail, but just make one point which is very important for young people, is that we create a bias against physical labor. We don't allow our children to work with hand. So there's a mindset that we create where hand and mind is separated. This leads to the fact that the young people do not want to work in the labs. Mechanical engineer does not want to do mechanical engineering. Everybody wants to do IT or MBA. We're good in software, when it comes to hardware, we're doing extremely poor, and we're going to import more and more. So we need to change our mindset, and personally I've been suggesting that at least we should encourage our children to work with hand 1 hour in 1 week, do things which are considered dirty to do. And that's where then you can actually bridge this gap in hand and mind. It's very important lesson. Personally, I've gone through a kind of Gurukul system where I did everything by myself, whether it was, we live in ashrams. One day I'll clean all the toilets, one day I'll clean all the dishes. But today the children are not made to do this, and their children develop, they feel that's a dirty thing to do. So we must change this mindset. Let me leave out this thing. I'll just mention one program that we initiated, which is MSME internship program, where we're encouraging students of engineering students to go into small industry in 2 phases and realize their problems and solve them. I'll not go into details of this. And then, of course, having innovation labs to convert your ideas into working prototype. Prime Minister just announced a part of Startup India program to set up 500 tinting lab along with 3D printers. It's exactly along the same line. We are connected on the social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and so on, and we share global technology news every day, 15 to 20 global technology news. We bring out newsletters that you can download. Oops. Yeah. So, the key issue that I pointed out, the technology vision 2035 that we brought out can serve to guide STI policy, science, technology, innovation policy of the country. We must focus on our strength in terms of, for example, raw material, must do R&D to enhance their value. And third point is the broader issue of mindset. I'll then go over to the lecture that I wanted to give. This was basically a way to introduce my organization and some of the activity. Let me go over to the next one.